Welcome back. I'm Pastor Darryl, and we're walking you through this yearly Bible reading. And we started last week with the first 5 chapters of Genesis. Now we pick it up with Genesis chapter 6 through 22. That's what you're going to be reading this week. And remember what Paul said: study, show thyself a workman who need not be ashamed of themselves, rightly dividing the word of truth. So these are some things as you read this week, I want you to be watching for. Yet notice as we begin chapter 6, you're going to see God is grieved. He's grieved with the corruption of man because man has freely chosen basically to rebel and to believe the lie and embrace the lie. And the lie is you worship the creation rather than the creator. And this is going to be the ongoing theme of these genealogies of these human beings who continue to rebel against God because of the separation done at the fall. Well, anyhow, we're going to find out that even though God brings this flood and judges the world for the rebellious heart, he does deliver Noah and his family. And then from Noah's family, there's going to be 3 sons, or 3 new lines, 3 new generations. One from Japheth, one from Shem, and one from Ham. And apparently there's a change in creation after the flood, because all of a sudden, man is given the permission to kill animals and to eat. Like for some reason, there's a need for protein, a need for meat. But at the same time, in chapter 9, you're going to find there's a warning. When man begins to start killing animals, it's just one step away before he starts killing beings who bear the image of God, other human beings. And so the warning in chapter 9 is that you kill someone who bears the image of God. You forfeit your own life to show the sacredness, the preciousness of one who bears the image of God, life itself. Well, then we're going to find that man continues to create this separation. He wants to honor himself, and that's symbolized by this huge tower that would reach up into the heavens. But again, as God is holy, he's going to bring judgment, and he destroys the tower, and he scatters all the people, and he does it in the most fascinating way by simply confusing their languages. You know, you can summarize these first 11 chapters really by 4 words: creation, fall, flood, and nations. Now, as we move into chapter 12, God is going to focus on a chosen line. And he's going to begin with one man of faith, and his name, of course, is Abraham. And Abraham's faith did not influence his nephew Lot, because you're going to see that Lot proceeds to bring shame on himself and his family. But Abraham is going to be the one that's going to believe God, and then God's going to build a nation through this one man. But even at an old age, Abraham's going to receive a promise that's hard for him to believe, that he would have a son. He and Sarah would have a son. But even Abraham is human, and he stumbles in his faith. So at first he's knowing it's probably impossible for Sarah, his wife, who's 90 years old at the time, to have a child. So she gives Abraham her handmaiden Hagar. And in that culture, that was permitted. So he has a child from Hagar, which turns out horrible, a young baby's named Ishmael, who becomes the father of the Arab nations. And there later on, Sarah would have the promised child, Isaac, and there's going to be war between the line of Isaac, the Jews, and the line of Ishmael, the Arabs, even up to today. Well, meanwhile, mankind continues as a whole to pervert God's creation and to pervert God's design. And so 2 cities are going to be destroyed, Sodom and Gomorrah, because of that perversion. And again, Abraham being human, you're going to see him slip in faith. Again, he's going to be fearful for his life, and he lies about his wife being his sister. Now, it's really half a lie, because Sarah was his half-sister, and the gene pool was pretty pure at this time. That was part of the custom. That was not a problem. But because he feared death, he told the king that this was my sister. But Abraham's faith is going to be tested beyond imagination, because this promised child, Isaac himself, is going to be required to be a sacrifice. And so Abraham has to be willing to give up this promised child, his promise of loving this boy and becoming the father of all nations. And the confusion must have been great for Abraham. But after Abraham's faith is attested that he was willing to do that, the life of his son is spared. Well, then the story will continue, and you'll be reading about it. Remember, show thyself, a workman need not be ashamed of himself, rightly dividing the word of truth. We'll see you next week.